Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good evening, as the case may be, and welcome to another of our series of Bill Crane Reports. And I have Chris Gleason with us today. Dwayne is still a little bit on the sick list and promises he'll be with us next week or the week after when we do it. We got a convoluted bunch of things, but first of all, let me introduce our special guest today, Stormy Daniels. Now, Stormy Daniels hit the front pages of the Herald with this story back in 2006 that she and President Trump had a get-together, shall we say. It was poo-pooed then. It wasn't a story then. They dug it out. They put it on the front page of the paper one day, and it's gone. So, anyway, I know that Stormy, in her budding movie career, could use a little help, so I thought we'd give her a little exposure.
I don't know if she needs any more exposure.
It looks like she's got some pretty good exposure cooking there now as it is, but nonetheless. But that brings me to my point. And my point is this. If we're going to talk about a dalliance between this young lady and President Trump, then we need to really talk about Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his constant goings-on. He had his longtime mistress, Lucy Mercer, and of course there was Missy LeHand, also his secretary, who they were quite friendly.
Indeed.
We have Jack Kennedy, who never met a girl he didn't like. Had them at the White House all the time. Dwight Eisenhower had a companion during World War II. His Jeep driver. LBJ was notorious for spending time with women other than Lady Bird. And of course, we just observed Martin Luther King Day. And Martin Luther King was interested in other ladies too. So we need to be careful who we start heaving snowballs at, seems to me, especially unfounded snowballs. But anyway, I know Stormy is a budding movie star, so we thought we'd help her career out by inviting her to sit in with us. We had a little class to the show. You know, upscale. Okay, first point. The horoscope, I check my horoscope every day.
Really?
I don't.
Every day?
Wow. I'm not guided by it, but I'm amused.
Okay.
And it's on the same page the weather is on in the newspaper. There's a question it asks. Some say closure is a rhetorical concept, and to think of it as a necessity is to believe in a myth. Whether or not that's true, it will still feel good to complete a cycle and put an obvious, if ritualistic, ending on it. So, my question to you is closure. To me, and maybe I'm brutal and an unfeeling beast, but closure? I can't embrace it.
Maybe you can tell me more specifically, closure in what area?
A tragedy in your life, and you say, that drunken driver killed my brother, and I won't have closure until he's behind bars for the next 30 years, and then I can deal with the fact, or the death of a loved one, or some sort of an emotional event.
Well, I think that gives you permission to put it behind you and just get a fresh start.
Yeah, but people, it seems to me people are out searching for closure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's bogus as far as I'm concerned. But then again, I'm unfeeling and a beast, I guess.
Well, you'd have to make your own closure, but like you say, there's really never any closure. Nothing really, like you'll always have that memory. It'll never go away. Mm-hmm. But it sort of gives you, like the start of a new year. You can sort of try to put that behind you and start on to something else. It sort of gives you an excuse to move on.
So it's not real then?
What's real?
Yeah. You and I are talking the same lingo here, I think. You know, it's funny. My dad died when I was 32, I think. 33, maybe. Anyway, and it was a long, drawn-out battle with cancer. So 6 months. It was terrible. We were in the limousine going from the funeral home or from the church to the cemetery. Mm-hmm. I happened to look out the window, and I said to myself, bing! I said, I'm all alone. I don't have my dad. I don't have him to go talk to.
Okay.
I don't have him to give me advice or give me help. Holy cow, I'm alone. Mm-hmm. That didn't last that long.
I think a lot of people have that feeling.
Yeah, yeah. But now I didn't brood on it and say, well, I got to have closure now.
Yeah.
It was just a thought. And it was like getting kicked in the stomach there for a brief amount of time. And then, you dealt with it. Mm. But just constantly seeking out closure. You see it in the papers too. Families where they've had a murder and they're standing in the courtroom. We're not going to leave here until he's executed. We want closure. That's the only way we're going to get it. I don't know. I don't understand that.
It's an excuse.
I think you have blended into the truth.
Somehow I managed to do that.
I think you did it. All right. Well, here's another thing bothering me. White men are being assailed now for being bad guys. Okay. Haters, in fact. Mm-hmm. And
there's been a prejudice against white men.
Yeah, this is a new one. And Nancy Pelosi said a couple of incredibly stupid things. And they're criticizing President Trump. Well, look at his cabinet. All white guys. The point is, the Trump people are getting it done. I don't care whether they're green, blue, yellow, orange, have feathers in their hair, and dance in the moonlight. They're competent, and that's the point. He sought out the most competent people, the people that he could trust to help him make the government work. And he's being criticized for it. Now, I suppose the left would much rather have a multiracial component to the cabinet, but who cares whether they're qualified or not? You know, are they the best people for the job? It doesn't matter.
Well,
We have to have balance. This is madness. Absolute madness. Multi-millionaire Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the Democrats in the House, said the other day the $1,000 bonuses companies are giving their employees are pathetic crumbs.
They are. In comparison to what other people are getting for bonuses, they are.
No, they're well,
$1,000, is that what you said?
yeah. But the people that got tax cut legislation that are benefit by it, customers, are by and large giving out $1,000 to $2,000 bonuses to all their employees.
I heard this. Where did you hear this?
It's been in the news. It's happening. Like there's 123 companies that have already done this. And Nancy Pelosi said, it's pathetic crumbs. Well,
if you multiply it by all their employees, that's a considerable.
but here's the thing. There was shame on me, I can't find it, but there was a study that said what percentage of the American public could pay a $400 bill that arrived by surprise.
I'm always hearing those statistics, and I'm not so sure I believe them. They always say people in America are living hand to mouth, or whatever you want to call it, from paycheck to paycheck. That just astounds me. I can't imagine a $400 bill not being able to be paid.
53% of the people, it seems to me, said they could not pay it.
Well, I'd like to know who did the survey and where they surveyed. You know,
I don't think it's that far off, because take a look at credit card debt. I mean, it's the average person now. It seems to me at the first of the year, I saw something that said the average person has $8,000 in credit card debt.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah. So when you do it at that rate, you're only paying the interest off. So I can understand not being able to pay, unless they use the plastic to pay the $400 bill. But I think there's a lot to be said with the fact that there are people that could not afford to do that. Now, we're also going to take into effect to think about the fact that there's an awful lot of people working at McDonald's and Burger King.
Those people.
And
Sure.
they're also figured into this mix, too, you know. But still, it's sad. Now, you and I were brought up. I don't know about you. I shouldn't put words in your mouth. That's unfair. My first job, I remember my mother said, well, you got your first paycheck. I said, yep. I brought home $54.53 or something like that. She says, well, give me $15, and every week thereafter give me $15. I'll put it in the bank for you. Now, I don't know if your folks did the same thing.
No, they took my paycheck and said, thank you very much.
You could live here another week.
Yeah.
But today, that value, it doesn't, you know, if you save money, you're looked at as an odd person or...
Well, the people who have the most items, dress, material items, go places, give the bar, pay for everybody's bar drinks, they're the ones that are admired and sought after. That's the popular thing. So you don't have to necessarily look down at the other people. You're just attracted to those people who show wealth.
The shakers and movers. You know, that's interesting you should say that. I always enjoyed the blowhard that came into the bar and said, Eddie, set them up! The drinks are on me! I always thought that was great. Mainly, not because of him, mainly because it was a free drink.
Sure.
Yeah, I could care less about him. And I never bought him one back either, whoever he was.
Right.
But I often wondered, what possesses someone to do that? Is it they're looking for gratification? They want to be known as the good guy, or
You want the attention.
maybe that's it. Yeah, I don't know.
So how does this tie into the $1,000? Yeah,
Well-
so the thing is, my question is, if they gave them a pay raise, would that be much longer?
They're all
Or is it just a 1,000 one-shot deal?
okay. There's no set hard and fast rule. This is the tax cut, but they're
Right.
all rewarding their employees because they're all going to get, the corporation's going to get a huge tax cut. So they're going to share it with the people, they're giving them bonuses, and there's going to be pay adjustments too.
Well, I'm always
Going forward.
I'm always very skeptical about everything, and I'm
Well-
wondering, is that going to lower the taxes of the corporations?
Oh, well, the corporations are getting a huge tax.
But what I'm saying is that money that they ordinarily pay out in taxes, they probably got it all figured out now. So that money that they ordinarily pay out in taxes, supposedly, is fit into their big scheme of their income, financially maneuverings. So now that tax deduction is gone, so we use the bonus instead of the tax deduction. Like when you pay your taxes, you get a certain amount off because you're paying.
No, I think that the corporations have a state of euphoria. They're saying, this is great, and we're going to share it with our employees. They're not going to share all of it. They're going to just share some of it. A one-shot deal, but they are going to adjust wages upwards. They're going to invest in new equipment. They're going to become more efficient. They're going to make more money, and they're going to get more business.
This is the trickle down that I've heard before from Reagan.
Well-
the people at the top are going to have all the money, things are going to be prosperous, and it's going to trickle down. And it didn't trickle down. The
Sure it
people at
did.
the top hung on to it, and they hung on to it even more tightly than before.
People that prospered under Ronald Reagan were both the rich and the working class. The working class made out fine under Reagan. It's just that they were plunged back into misery after Reagan.
Yeah, but Reagan started it, and then it's like he has, to me, in my view, he started it, and then the effects of what he started didn't show up till later.
Well, of course. Yeah, absolutely. But he is the one that had the vision. He rebuilt the military. He cut taxes, and he said to corporations, get going. And they did. I think President Trump, if he does nothing else, I think his first 4 years are going to be a complete success because of this tax cut. And take a look at the stock market and what's happening.
That's insane. The stock market is absolutely insane.
I don't agree. But nonetheless, you take a look at it, and you're looking at forward earnings.
Oh, yeah.
And the earnings, they're going to be 14% higher just because they got a 14% tax cut. So they're going to be 14% higher. And if they do as they say, and they will, reinvest, because they have to answer to the stockholders, and reinvest in the company, build the business up, hire more salesmen, buy more equipment, everybody prospers.
But the stockholders aren't interested in that. They want immediately stock returns. So a lot of that money that they're getting, they're going to have to pay out to the stockbrokers, the stockholders.
Well, yeah, the stockholders will get some dividends, but that'll just continue to drive the value of the stock up.
I know.
Yeah. It's wonderful. But guess who benefits from it?
The people who own the stock.
The little people. There's the little people are going to benefit.
I've heard that not that many little people are owning stock anymore.
Well,
After the financial meltdown, they left and didn't come back.
let me tell you something, okay? There are 41 million people in this country that have an IRA. And that IRA invests in stocks. There are 54 million people in this country that have a 401k. That's invested in stocks. They've seen the value of their investments go up 20, 25, 30% in the last year. So not only the rich getting rich, but the working class down here is benefit tremendously. The unions like MBTA or Boston Police Union or Boston Firefighters Union, that, well, let's get a little bit iffy about whether they get enough money in their tucker bag to pay out the retirement money that's due people as they leave. This drives their kitty up 20 or 30%. If they've invested it wisely.
So what do you think about inflation then?
The inflation right now is benign.
Yeah, but like you say, this is forward earnings and these are forward policies. These haven't gone into effect yet. Wouldn't you be worried about
inflation is going to stay low as long as the Fed keeps the borrowing rate down low. And they haven't shown any signs of saying, we're going to jack it up now. Because they don't want to slow down this rally. They don't want to throw any water on it.
Plus, they really can't afford to raise it because they're the ones that are in debt and they're paying the interest.
There's something to be said for that. All right. Okay.
So $1,000, what do you say? You say that's penny for final analysis.
Do you know something? You know what's fun? Is I sat down one day with my kids. And I said, tell me something. What is a lot of money? One kid said $500. Another kid said $5,000. And the third one, I forget what the hell he said. But
it's all relative.
It's all relative, you know?
But it certainly would make for happier employees to get a $1,000 check.
My kids would be thrilled to get a $1,000 check. I know how much I gave them for Christmas, and they were very happy. So, anyway, here's another thing for you. Then I'm going to get back to silly stuff. 55% of Americans do not have a will.
It costs money. Well, you can do it very cheaply.
You can.
But
yeah, in fact, you can go online and you can do a perfectly legal bill. And as long as it's written in your own hand entirely, it's perfectly legal and signed. To me, it sounds, well, you say, it's selfish on their part. But it's just stupid on their part, I think. Stupidity, I think. They think they're going to live forever, for one thing. Well,
it does cause some problems if you write out a will and people know who's getting what. There can be a lot of family discord.
I got 3 sons. I have one son that owns his own home. It's a condo, but he owns it. He doesn't have a will. Where's that go, if anything were to happen to him?
To the government.
He's got a lot of equity in it. No, it actually goes...
Is he married?
No.
Oh.
And his brother, my other son, my younger son, lives with him.
Okay.
But so something like that, I mean, they should be thinking about something like that. Now, maybe Patrick got me totally surprised. Maybe he's done something about it, but the last I knew he didn't have a will.
And how old is he, did you say?
42 or 3.
Wow.
But we learned in Walpole High School back a million years ago. I took a business course with Miss Thayer. Beulah Thayer with the purple hair. She was a very interesting woman. She went and got blank checks from banks and showed us how to run a checking account.
I did that with my 5th grade students.
There you go. She made us understand statements, how to balance a checking account. What was the stock market? How do you invest in the stock market? And then she gave us make-believe $5,000 and said, invest it now, and in June, we'll look and see who's done the best. We talked about insurance and why you need insurance. We talked about wills and why you need wills. And she spent time with us telling us common sense things. They don't do that in school anymore.
They never did it. I mean, you were lucky to get her.
I sure was. But they were practical, I think, back in 1954.
Certainly more than they are now.
Yeah, it's very structured now. God, if you ever started teaching that kind of stuff, they'd say, oh, wait a minute, you can't do that. That's not in the curriculum. Anyway, the Quinnipiac poll. Now, supposedly, the Quinnipiac poll is supposed to be the most accurate, most honest poll. I don't know. Who knows? 66% of the people are confident in the economy. This is the highest reading they've ever had for confidence in the economy.
That's good.
On Wall Street Week, an old guy that's been around forever, Ralph Acampora, he said that he's predicting the stock market will go up 15% this year. They had Byron Wien on. Now, Byron is older than me by about 40 years. I think he was there when they built Wall Street. But he said that he sees nothing on the horizon to slow this market down for the next 2 or 3 years. Then I got a news thing from JP Morgan Chase. Jamie Dimon, who I think is the smartest guy financially in the country, said, along with a report also sent out by Goldman Sachs brokerage, they each released a prediction of 4% GDP for this year.
Wow.
When under the Obama administration it averaged less than 2% a year. This is great news. To have a guy like Byron Wien and a guy like Jamie Dimon and the folks at Goldman Sachs and Ralph Acampora saying what they're saying, you know? So I say stay invested. And to put this in a little more comparison, the day after President Trump was elected, the stock market went up 500 points. The day after Obama was elected, it went down 500 points. And from the time Obama was elected until he was inaugurated, which is somewhere around 80 or 90 days, went down 2,000 points. It was predicted by one of the wags that the election of Trump would destroy the stock market and that would never recover from it. What are the 3 most visited countries in the world?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, it would probably be the U.S.
That's number 3.
Japan?
Nope.
England?
Nope.
Oh, I give up.
France is number 1.
Okay.
Spain now is number 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
You said 3, so U.S. was at the bottom.
U.S. was number 3. So, you know, every once in a while, folks, I like to share helpful hints with you. And here's helpful hint number, I don't know what, that I've given you folks, but here is a wonderful hint, because I'm really handy around the kitchen, you know?
I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh. So the other night, I had bought a package of English muffins. I like English muffins.
Okay.
I like bagels too, but I like to have cream cheese with bagels.
Oh, yeah.
I don't put cream cheese on English muffins. I put butter and jelly. So I had a large jar of grape jelly, which I like. I get 2 hot English muffins. I put butter on them, and then I reach into the jar of grape jelly. There's only about that much on the bottom. Do you ever try to get that out with a knife? It keeps falling off the knife. I went in the drawer and I got an iced tea spoon.
Okay.
A long handled spoon, went right in, got a spoonful, turned it over and squished it, and there it was. So there, folks, when you get to the bottom of the jelly jar, don't mess with the stupid knife. Get the long handled spoon and it'll come out easy right on your English muffins, and they'll be delicious.
I'll have to try it.
There you go. So, I'm going to now give you another quiz here.
Uh-oh.
What of the 10, in no particular order, but what are the 10 most stressful occupations?
One is a National Forest Ranger. They,
No, that's, you're close. Okay. Yeah.
police,
Yep.
fire,
Yep.
teaching.
No.
Let's see, stressful. Well, I would imagine the people who work in the emergency room in the hospital.
Believe it or not, they're not on the list. But I would think you're right. You missed number 1, though.
Doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs.
Enlisted military personnel.
Oh.
Firefighter. That's number 2. Police officer is number 4.
Okay,
What's number 3?
don't know. Flyer?
Airline pilot.
Oh, yeah.
Number 5 is the stupidest thing on the list. An event coordinator.
Oh.
I guess that's high stress, I guess.
Yeah, because you have to coordinate a lot of things.
You
to
get a
have
lot
them
of
come out,
balls in the air.
and it has to come out perfect, and it has to be at the same time.
Gonna be quite a juggler.
Yeah.
Number 6, I don't buy at all. A newspaper reporter.
I'll have to ask my son. That's what he
There you
does.
go. Number 7, he doesn't chew his fingernails down to the quick, does he?
No.
Nah, see? Number 7, a senior corporate executive. Guy that takes his job seriously
Yeah.
and is responsible for an $80 million or $80 billion company. Number 8, public relations executive. So, like the gal there that is the press secretary for the president, she gets it.
Yeah, she gets it from both ends.
Yeah, and she gives it right back too. Number 9. Yeah, I agree with number 9. Taxi driver.
Oh.
An Uber driver last night was attacked in Boston by the fare, the guy that he picked up.
Yeah, well, that
And-
happens to taxi drivers.
Yeah, and he got into a knife fight or whatever, got stabbed, and
That's why they put in those glass partitions.
yeah. But, of course, an Uber driver is using his own car.
True.
Number 10, this one is bogus. Number 10, a broadcaster. What, they're afraid of falling out of the booth or something? Or what are the 10 least stressful jobs?
Ditch digger, a grave digger.
Yeah, something like that, I suppose. These are professions, though, actual professions.
No, professions.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, number one, I just didn't think of this one as the least stressful job. A diagnostic medical sonographer.
Oh.
In other words, when you go for a CAT scan or an ultrasound or whatever, they just run the wand over you. I guess that's not stressful, I guess. Number 2, a compliance officer. The guy that walks around with the clipboard and says, you got light bulb out up there, you know, people can't see as well as they should. Or Number 3, a hairstylist.
I guess the person who's having their hair done is under the most stress.
I think you're right. Number 4, an audiologist.
Okay,
Yeah.
I certainly agree with that one.
Yep, you've been that route. Mm-hmm. Number 5, a tenured university professor. He's on the easy street.
He is.
Number 6, a medical records technician.
Okay.
Number 7, a jeweler.
I shouldn't think, but is that really a profession?
Setting a diamond into a
Well, you have to be skilled, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You don't want to goof up.
No, it's expensive to goof up. Number 8, an operations research analyst. God only knows what that is.
Probably to see if you're working efficiently.
The efficiency expert. You may have that. Number 9, a pharmacy technician. I mean, put 8 pills in a bottle, you know. And number 10, a medical lab technician.
I think those are becoming more stressful, though, these days when a lot of outcomes of trials are being depending on them.
And a lot of lawsuits are flying in their direction, too. You put aspirins in there rather than penicillin, you know? Well, anyway. I think I have one more on the next page here. Oh, I talked about those things.
One time you said you were going to talk about what was happening in the universities.
You want to do that? I just have a, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to say one more thing because I love this. And then we'll kind of barge into the universities. Mayor vows to get to the bottom of the shootings. If I have heard Marty Walsh say, we're not going to accept this any longer, we're getting to the bottom of this, we're going to stop the violence in the streets. If I've heard him say it once, I've heard him say it 500 bloody times. And he does nothing.
And all those people that came before him.
And all the ones that came before him is right. Mayor Giuliani down in New York City is the only one that went out there and said, we're stopping and frisking every one of you gangbangers, and we're taking your guns away. So leave them home unless you want to lose them.
And he made a big difference in New York City.
Did he ever? That was a devil's pit.
It was.
And he cleaned it up. So, Marty Walsh, if he took a look at that playbook, would give him some ideas.
But he wouldn't dare do them.
No, wouldn't dare do them. I'm going to look for votes, you know. I don't want to lose the votes here. When I was a kid, way back, there was it was Irish, but it was an insult. And it had its roots in the Irish American community. A dope was called a puddinhead.
Okay.
And that's the thing that comes to mind every time I see Marty Walsh is puddinhead. Ah. 43 million people have IRAs and 51 million have 401ks. I remember it correctly, I think.
It would be interesting to know what percentage of the population who are capable of having them that it represents.
Yeah. There are companies now who make people sign a paper saying they don't want 401ks. In other words, when you went to work for an outfit, they'd say, well, here's a form to fill out for your 401k, and they just slide it back at them and say, I don't want that. And that was the end of it. So to make it more difficult for these people to reject them, they now make them fill out a form as to why they don't want it and sign it.
That's in part of a book that I just finished reading called Misbehaving, and the guy who wrote it got a Pulitzer Prize, not a Pulitzer Prize, a Nobel Prize in economics because of it. And they showed where it's called Nudge and how they're putting together now psychology and economics as one field almost. And that book tells about that, and they went through all the reasons why people behave as they do. Most people, like you say, will not write out a will. So they thought of ways to make people do things, and that was one of the ways. People have a lot of inertia, and unless they are motivated they're using inertia for a good reason, because you have to opt out. That's the inertia you have to overcome to opt out, instead of having to overcome the inertia to sign in.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So that's the new trend now.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea because.
But some people oppose that.
Yeah.
Some people are against that.
Oh, yeah, I know it. Listen, it's my life. I can do as I damn well please, blah, blah, blah.
Go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. We'll save that for another time. And, there's a couple more things for me to rave about here before we get into the colleges and all. Coast Guard calls off its search for a missing kayaker in the Providence River. Mm-hmm. This young man went out in a 10-foot kayak in the Providence River during the blizzard. Mm-hmm. For the life of me, I don't know why they bothered to look for him. But they searched 104 square nautical miles, a total of 22 hours of searching. Well, they're still looking for him but they found the kayak yesterday. But there's ice out there and everything. They're not going to find him till spring if they find him. But people do stupid things. It costs us money to go out and look for stupid people. They should be forced to pay for this. Pay the police and fire overtime. Unless it's purely an accident.
Yeah, but the whole purpose behind having police and firemen is to protect everyone in the general public. And they're part of the public, so they need to be protected too. But I think maybe having them do some sort of community work afterwards would not be a bad idea.
Once again, I am defeated by common sense and logic. You're absolutely right. That's a good way around it.
Because then you're not putting a financial burden on these people.
Chris, once again, you have wandered down the path towards the truth. Well done.
Well, thank you.
A 33-year-old woman hit a man in Barnstable and killed him. She stopped her car, walked back, looked at him, walked back to her car, and left. 2 days later, she turned herself in. Now, she's being charged with motor vehicle homicide by negligent operation, a count of leaving the scene of an accident after death, and a count of operating a motor vehicle with an open container.
Uh-oh.
Now, someone saw her do this. How the devil did they see the open container? Or did she say, I don't know, I was driving along and I took a swig of fruit juice or something and banged into the man, never saw him. I don't know. But what would be a suitable punishment for this woman?
That's so hard to say.
Now, you gave me some good common sense answers before. I never had this problem with Dwayne. He'd hang him. You know, if she just hit somebody and kept going, and her defense was, oh, you know, I didn't feel my hitting him or blah, but she went back and looked at him. I think 10 to 15 years in the slammer is very...
She definitely needs some prison time.
Boy, absolutely.
I think she needs more than that.
Yep. You know, the Japanese are a clever bunch.
Yes, yeah.
Very smart. They have entered into an economic agreement with the 3 Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And they're going to have enhanced trade between the 3 Baltics and Japan. I believe it's information technology, transportation, and medicine are areas where Japan sees the most trade potential. And I would guess raw materials and foodstuffs would be what the Japanese are looking for in return. You know, but I think that's very interesting that in this country we have Lithuanians and some Latvians, and I think there's probably a few Estonians, but we have mostly European stock that filled the country until the latest migrations here. And yet we never thought about doing something like that with them.
Well, we don't need foodstuffs.
No, but I think there's other things we could find to have trade with them for.
I don't know what that would be.
Yeah. You're right, though. Perhaps the Japanese have found a place to have a trade deal that works for both parties. But we need them in NATO as NATO partners, functioning NATO partners. Seems to me that we could find something to do with them. But anyway.
We'll put Trump to work on it.
I will. I'm going to call him.
I'm curious.
Yes.
I'm not good in geography, but what would be the trade route from those Baltic countries to Japan?
Long.
And who would they have to go past? Would they have to go over China or Russia?
I would think they would come out into the Atlantic, go between England and the body of Europe, and down around through the Mediterranean, through the Suez Canal, and then out around India, and finally end up.
So you think
I would think
water, not overland.
Oh no, no.
That's what I'm wondering about.
It couldn't go over.
That's boggling my mind.
Yeah. I wonder if you could go by train.
Well, I'm not concerned about the mode of transportation. I'm concerned about the countries that you would have to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to put my administrative assistant on that question. We'll see what they can. MCAS woes persist as hub schools achieve little improvement in test scores.
So?
Nothing new on that, huh?
No. Population is the same. Why should the test scores change?
Yeah. We're going to run out of time here real quick, but I did some research on politically correct run amok.
Okay.
Well, got 5 minutes left, and I got 1 million of these. This is good. Holocaust commemoration. Goldsmiths, University of London. Okay? An innocuous proposal came before the Goldsmiths student body. That's what they call the student body, the big club, the Goldsmiths, to commemorate the Holocaust. The students voted it down, 60-1. Sarah L. Alfie claimed it was defeated because it was too Eurocentric. Another said it was colonialist, and another said because white people should not be proposing motions condemning genocide. It came a day after they had rejected a motion to condemn ISIS, as this is a form of Islamophobia. Months later, another student union officer, Baha Mustafa, organized an event to protest inequality. On the advertisement, Mustafa wrote, "If you have been invited and you're a man and or white, please don't come." Spurred by the criticism, she replied via Twitter, "Kill all white men." This is the student body at a prestigious university in England.
That's insane. Just insane.
I would guess that this is just about all Middle Easterners that have migrated into England. This one here is a little large. No, I can do this. Janet Napolitano, the former, she was in charge of Homeland Security.
Oh yeah, okay.
She is now, she wants small talk. She's the president of the University of California. She wants small talk banned, as it is inherently racist or sexist. The reigning president of UCal, she recently issued a list of microaggressions that all faculty should not use, and she is banning them from campus. Some of the phrases she is banning include, "America is a melting pot." "I believe the most qualified person should get the job." "There is only one race, the human race." "When I look at you, I don't see color." Where are you from? Where were you born? According to her, this is part of an initiative to improve campus climate. At our next invocation here, we shall go through more of these. So folks, you won't want to miss the next show, because we're going to dig into these PC madness that's being inflicted mostly in American colleges, but in some cases, newspapers and all of that. So, on that note, friends, glad you tuned in. I hope you're enjoying the snow and all the crappy weather. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Awesome.